The resort's air of exclusivity often carried an undercurrent of disdain, especially directed towards staff like me, a black woman navigating a predominantly white, affluent clientele. I'd grown accustomed to the subtle dismissals, the way some guests looked right through me. But the heat radiating from the woman by the pool that afternoon was different, sharper. "Hey you, waitress, get over here." Her voice sliced through the idyllic scene. I turned to see a blonde woman, sunglasses perched on her nose, flanked by two others whose giggles already felt condescending. "Took you long enough," she drawled, her tone laced with a familiar entitlement, one often tinged with something else. "Give me another drink and make it snappy. This service, well, it's what I'd expect." Her friends snickered, their eyes flicking over me with a mixture of amusement and dismissal. I swallowed the familiar sting, replying with practiced professionalism, "Of course, madam." As I turned to fetch her order, a sharp tug on my arm spun me back. "Do you think you can just walk away from me?" she snapped, her voice rising, drawing the attention of nearby guests. "I want my drink now." Then came the words that resonated with a history far deeper than just a delayed cocktail. "If you take another second, I swear I'll slap you." A hush fell over the pool area. My colleagues froze, their gazes a mixture of fear and a weary understanding. Other guests, mostly white, pretended a sudden fascination with their books or phones, yet their awareness was palpable. My eyes locked with the woman's. Her belief in her right to treat me this way, fueled by both wealth and race, was chillingly clear. A slow burn ignited within me, a familiar anger rising against the constant microaggressions and blatant disrespect. Crossing my arms, I offered a tight, almost defiant smile. In that moment, something shifted within me. She thought she held all the power, but the silent witness and my own simmering resolve suggested otherwise. Working at this resort had been a constant negotiation with the insidious nature of privilege, amplified by racial bias. For some guests, their wealth seemed to grant them permission to not only demand but to demean, and being a black woman in that space often made me an easy target. This woman's threat, however, felt like a blatant crossing of a line. Her friend's amusement only underscored the casual racism I often encountered. I needed this job, but my dignity demanded a response. Maintaining a calm exterior, I suggested, my voice steady, "Madam, if there's an issue with the service, I can call the manager." Her surprise was palpable. She likely expected subservience, not a challenge. "The manager? Do you think I care about the manager?" she shrieked. "You work for me. People like you do what you're told." She punctuated her words by slamming her empty glass onto my tray. But my attention snagged on a figure in the periphery. A distinguished black man in a sharp suit sat observing from a distance, his gaze intense and unwavering. He exuded an air of quiet authority that set him apart. Ignoring him for the moment, I focused on the venom still directed at me. "It's always the same with your kind," she spat, the racial slur hanging heavy in the air. That's when a resolve hardened within me. I wouldn't shrink. Holding the tray steady, I met her gaze unflinchingly. "Will there be anything else, madam?" She smirked, as if she'd landed a blow. "Yes, I want you to apologize. Now, in front of everyone." The silence thickened, charged with unspoken tensions. But before I could respond, a deep, resonant voice cut through the air. "I believe I've seen enough." The woman stiffened, her face paling slightly. Her friends' laughter died in their throats. She turned, searching for the speaker, her eyes widening as they landed on the black man in the suit. He was standing now, his presence commanding. Security guards, their movements subtle but deliberate, positioned themselves nearby. A palpable tension, thicker now with the added layer of race and power, filled the air. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice losing its earlier stridency, a flicker of uncertainty entering her eyes. He approached, his gaze sweeping over me, the tray, and finally settling on her. Someone who just witnessed a rather significant error in judgment and a display of appalling behavior. She offered a shaky laugh. "And what's it to you? Are you on her side?" "What?" He tilted his head slightly, his eyes holding a steady intensity. Indeed, because this resort is mine. The revelation hung in the air, met with gasps and a stunned silence that spoke volumes about the assumptions made in that space. The woman stammered, her composure shattering. "Why, you're the owner?" He crossed his arms, his gaze unwavering. "I am." And the young woman you felt entitled to belittle, to threaten with violence, and to demean with your racist remarks? She's more than just a waitress. Time seemed to stretch, the weight of the moment pressing down. The woman blinked, trying to process the information, the racial implications of her actions likely dawning on her. What does that mean?" He looked at me, a hint of a knowing smile playing on his lips. "It means she won't be serving you any longer. In fact, I think it's long overdue that you departed my establishment." Panic flared in her eyes. "Wait, this is a misunderstanding. I didn't mean, but it was too late." Murmurs rippled through the onlookers, a shift in their perception palpable. Security guards began to close in. Her arrogance crumbled, replaced by a desperate plea. "Please, I'm a VIP client. I can pay." The owner simply raised a hand, cutting her off. "Your money is irrelevant here. It certainly doesn't buy you the right to treat my staff. Any human being with such disrespect and racial animus." And just like that, the entitled woman who sought to humiliate me, fueled by her privilege and prejudice, was herself publicly humbled. Even as she was being escorted away, a different kind of attention settled on me. I turned to find the owner watching me, his expression thoughtful, a hint of pride in his eyes. "You handled that with remarkable grace," he said, his voice calm, but carrying a weight of understanding. I'm used to it," I replied, the weariness in my voice betraying the resilience I'd had to build. He gave a small, sad smile. "Too used to it. That shouldn't be the case." A moment of charged silence passed between us. Then he gestured. "Walk with me. I like to talk." As we strolled through the resort, a place I'd only ever experienced from the service entrance, I saw it through new eyes. The understated luxury, the meticulous detail, a world built by someone who, like me, likely understood what it meant to be underestimated. "How long have you been here?" he asked. 3 years. He nodded. "And before that?" "Smaller restaurants," I replied. I've had to work hard." He smiled faintly, a shared understanding passing between us. "Even after today?" I offered a wry smile. "I don't have the luxury of being easily deterred." "No," he agreed. "Resilience, a quality often born from necessity, and one I value." He paused. "Most people, when faced with such blatant disrespect, would crumble. But you stood firm. You maintained your composure, and you held your ground." A sense of anticipation began to stir within me. "I'm looking for someone for a more significant role on my team," he stated, his words sending a jolt of hope through me. "A management position, and I believe your strength, your dignity, and your understanding of how people should not be treated make you an ideal candidate." I was stunned. "Management? I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he suggested, a genuine warmth in his smile. But I don't have the experience." "Your experience is different, and in many ways, more valuable," he countered. "You've navigated situations most of my other staff haven't had to. You've shown leadership in the face of adversity. The rest can be taught." I was speechless, the weight of his belief in me settling in my chest. I need to think about it." He nodded. "Of course, but don't delay too long. Opportunities born from such moments are rare." That night, sleep was a distant luxury. The offer was both terrifying and exhilarating. Could I really step into such a role? But then I recalled the woman's entitled face, the sting of her words, and the quiet dignity with which I had refused to be broken. Maybe, just maybe, this was my chance to not just survive, but to thrive. The next day, the whispers followed me like a shadow. My coworker's excited question confirmed the buzz. I was being considered for management. But along with the congratulations came the sideways glances, the muttered doubts. One of the senior waiters, a white man who had been there for years, approached me, his tone laced with thinly veiled resentment. "So is this how it works now? You cause a scene, play the victim, and suddenly you're management?" The familiar sting of being reduced to a stereotype tightened my chest. "Nothing's decided yet," I replied, my voice carefully neutral. He scoffed. "Oh, please. We all saw what happened. The boss felt sorry for you." The murmurs around us intensified, a stark reminder of the racial dynamics at play. "If I get this position," I said, meeting his gaze directly, letting the steel in my spine show, "it won't be out of pity. It will be because I am capable." He sneered. "And what makes you think you are?" I took a breath, the weight of every microaggression, every dismissive glance fueling my response. "Because I've had to be twice as good to get half the recognition. And I'm not afraid to stand up for myself or others who are treated unjustly." The silence that followed was heavy, the unspoken prejudices hanging in the air. My decision solidified. I would accept. I wouldn't let their doubts define me. Later that afternoon, I was summoned to the owner's office. He greeted me with a warm smile. "It seems you've been the subject of some discussion." I nodded, a wry smile touching my lips. "It comes with the territory, I suppose." He chuckled softly. "Indeed. So, have you made a decision?" "Yes," I said, meeting his gaze. "I accept your offer." He studied me for a moment, a quiet understanding passing between us. "Excellent. Because you start now." My eyes widened slightly. "Now?" "Yes. And your first task awaits." Before I could ask, his assistant buzzed through. "Sir, the woman from yesterday is here. Again. She's demanding to see you." A wave of weary frustration washed over me. Hadn't she learned anything? The owner looked at me, a subtle challenge in his eyes. "Well, manager," he said, the new title feeling both foreign and empowering. "What do you want to do?" A sense of clarity settled over me. This wasn't just about this one woman. It was about setting a precedent. I took a deep breath. "Send her in." His eyebrows rose slightly in approval. The door opened, and she stood there, the remnants of her entitled fury battling with a newfound unease. I need to speak to the owner," she stammered, avoiding my gaze. "You're speaking to the management now," I replied, my voice calm and steady, a quiet authority I hadn't possessed just days before. The look on her face was priceless, disbelief warring with the dawning realization that the world she expected to bend to her had just shifted on its axis.